Hi everybody, Jason Taylor, Fatbeard Brewing Supply, here today to talk to you and do a build video for a little project I've been working on I call the Fatbrew. The Fatbrew is my personal answer to the RoboBrew, the Mash and Boil, all the other electric brewing systems that are out there. They're all great systems, don't get me wrong, but I don't think they take the concept of what we're after as brewers all the way through. Putting together a kit form system. It will not be built completely. It'll come as a kit. You'll have to assemble it yourself. But I think that actually will allow you to customize and make each unit individually yours. Without further ado, let's switch the camera around. I'll show you everything that's in the kit, and then we'll get to building. Alright, first and foremost, let me apologize for any quality issues. I'm using my cell phone for this. I don't have a better spot set up to do this video. Really apologize. Let's show you what all's going to be in the kit. First off, we're starting off with the Digiboil. The Digiboil is more or less a stripped down RoboBrew, or Brewzilla. This is the 110 volt model. As you can see, everything's kind of half assembled. We've got the valve out of it at the moment. I haven't actually started putting all this together yet. Next to it, we have the RoboBrew Brewzilla distillation kit lid from our supplier with a gasket already placed into it. That will be included in the kit. There's a number 10 drilled stopper, an S-bubbler airlock, a 10-inch water filter housing, 3 ball valves, 2 T's, an elbow, Teflon tape, 2 3/8 nipples, 4 close fittings, 1/2 inch stainless steel, and a 3/8 compression fitting with a 1/2 inch fitting on it, our water pump, a stainless steel racking cane, 3/8 in diameter, a brew-in-the-bag kettle bag, 2 bags with 10-foot each of silicone tubing in 3/8 diameter. Over here we have the Brewzilla 35-liter jacket for the unit, and we have a stainless steel wort chiller. Things that will not come in the kit, you'll have to source these yourself. We've got some 36-inch UV black zip ties. And the tools we're going to need: a pipe cutter, at least an 8-inch adjustable wrench, something big enough to tighten down the nut on the fittings on the inside. You're going to need a decent Phillips screwdriver and a decent pair of pliers. Okay, so started out, we've removed all the unessential stuff from the table. We've already installed the valve into the unit, tightened her down good so she's not going to rotate too easily. And the first step we're going to do is remove the nipple that comes on the end of this valve. We are not going to be making use of that. Now you'll notice at the end that thread there, that is actually 1/2 inch NPT thread. It's very short, but it is there. It threads perfectly into a 1/2 inch fitting. We're going to clumsily, well, I'm going to do it clumsily, get some thread tape on here. A couple good wraps, we don't want any leaks. And the first thing we're going to put on is a 1/2 inch T. And it would have helped dramatically had I wrapped the thread tape the correct direction. Do that all the time for some reason. Let's see. Like I said, clumsily. And we'll thread on our T-fitting. We're going to be kind of careful when we're doing this. We don't want to bend that. That metal is thick enough, but it's not exactly heavy gauge metal. It's a little on the thin side. This is going to be kind of a snug fit, but we want to make sure that we are getting this as close to vertical as we can possibly get it. And make sure that it's very good and snug. Make sure we didn't damage any threads. From there, we are going to install one of our close nipples. Now, when you get your pump, I've already done this off camera, it's got 6 little screws up here. You're going to loosen those up, remove those screws. Make sure not to lose them. They are just a standard thread. I mean, they're easy enough to replace if you can find stainless steel screws. We're going to remove just the housing, leave the impeller and everything else with the pump, set it aside. And we're going to wrap this end with a little bit of thread tape. We're going to make sure we're wrapping it the right direction this time. Now this is a plastic thread. We don't want to really be reefing on it. We just want to make sure we got a good seal. You don't need a whole lot of thread tape here. A couple simple wraps. We're sending you a full roll of thread tape with this kit, so you'll have great planning. And that's why I had that loose before. It will go on. It's very tight. You're going to hit the ends of the output thread on the side of the burner. No big deal. You're going to thread it on until it's tightened up, but you don't want to over torque it. These are just plastic threads. We will be selling also the stainless steel upgraded unit for this as an option for it. The polysulfone works just fine. The stainless steel just gives you a little more durability, a little more ease of cleaning. When you're done threading that in, you want to make sure that this and this are lined up together. It'll be offset, but you want them running parallel. Let's see, where was that again? Now we want to add our first ball valve. And when you add your ball valves in, you want to make sure that you're going to be able to align them in such a way that the action of the handle is not going to be interfered with in any way. Myself, I prefer to have them this way, so that when it's open, it's in line with where it's going to. And we're going to make sure that that is a good snug fit. And then our valve is more or less vertical on the handle so that the action goes by the side of the pump but does not interfere with it. Off the end of this, we're going to take a threaded nipple adapter. This will be our bottom output. Keep using the pliers when I got a wrench right here. Again, good and snug so it's not going to leak, but it doesn't have to be super tight. And while you're doing this, this is going to flex and turn a little bit. Don't worry about it too much. You don't want to be reefing on it. Just be a little careful with it. Then, off of our pump outlet, we're going to put a little more PTFE tape for the next piece going on. Getting our direction right again. Threading this way. Can't tell, I really suck with PTFE tape. Just not a plumber. Again, it's not super critical. We've got plastic threads that are going to seal really well already. The PTFE is just going to keep it from binding up, help to keep it from stripping out. From here, we are going to put on another T. Remembering we're screwing on 2 plastic threads. We don't need to reef on it. And we're going to make sure that that is pointing as vertical as possible. Off the top, one of our close nipples. And another ball valve. Again, we're going to take the time to look at our orientation on our valve. And like I said, my personal preference is to always orient them so that when they're open, the handle points in the direction where it's going to or coming from. Since this is an output, we want it where it's going to. And we're going to support this one because it is plastic under there. Make sure we get her good and snug. And oriented so that her handle is going to be easily accessible, but yet still out of the way. Close nipple on the other side of that. And this is where we're going to use our 3/8 compression fitting. Is off the top of this ball valve. This is going to be the output for our recirculation arm later on. And remember, we're dealing with plastic down there. Be a little gentle with it. You may need that's probably tight enough. You don't have to reef these down to make them watertight. The tighter you make them, the less there's any chances of any leaks, but you don't have to like just beef on them. Then we're going to start getting ready to put in our water filter element. So for this, we're going to need to start with, gotta remember my blueprints off the top of my head. So this is where we use our 90. Good and snug. pointing more or less straight back this way. Again, our ball valve. This one, it looks like we're going to have to take the handle off of because we're not going to be able to rotate it around without interference. All you got to do is loosen up this little nut right here. Takes a little effort because there's a lock washer on it. Going to pull the handle off. Remember our orientation. You got two little stops on here. That tab goes in there. That way it's only going to turn so far. And even though I want this to point towards where we're going, that will interfere with our pump housing, so we're going to turn it this way. So, reinstall our handle. Okay, off here we're going to use our last close nipple. And then we're going to take the base from our filter housing. Make sure we're using the inlet side. We may have to turn this up a little bit. I'm just going to thread it on there. Again, we're dealing with plastic threads. We don't need to get all medieval on it. But this will likely tighten up fairly close to the fitting. You want to make sure you got a good, snug, waterproof fit on it. Now I'm putting my element upside down. That's going to be personal preference for every user of this. The problem I see with it is that even though it's going to be outside of the way of anything, all that liquid's going to be up here. We will have an outlet side, so it should drain out, but you will have to make sure that it is drained before you remove the filter housing in this orientation. You could also rotate it 90 degrees over or turn it slightly down so that it points to the ground. It's just going to increase the footprint of the whole machine then. And then off the outlet side, we're going to put our last nipple. I did not include a valve for this. If you wanted to, you could easily put another 1/2-inch ball valve in line here to control that and just lock it off. I don't know that it's really necessary. Okay, there's our basic manifold. That's more or less how it's going to be. The only thing we have left to do is to reattach the pump, put on the filter housing. Before we get to that, we have a few other steps to do though, because we don't want to be messing around with all that weight hanging off of that one little point. We're going to get to that. 1 second, I'm going to grab the RoboBrew jacket. The reason for the jacket is because this is a stainless steel single wall vessel. If we don't insulate it a little bit, we lose so much heat on a 110 volt unit. They take a long time to heat up to a boil. The jacket helps a lot. You'll notice that it's got a couple of cutouts in it. It's designed to fit on more or less one way and one way only. The small cutout goes over your valve here, and it's tight. You have to stretch it to get the Velcro to go together. That is perfectly normal. You want it tight so that it doesn't slide around. Okay, now as you'll notice, we've got a lot of weight hanging out here right now, and we're going to add more weight with the pump. So let's start by getting our pump in place. It comes with a mounting bracket built into it, but we don't have a mounting point on the unit. So what we're going to do, we're going to align this as much as we can. Oops, let's take that way back up there for a minute. We're going to start out with one of our big zip ties. What we're going to do, we're going to thread that zip tie underneath this one, over the pump, back through that one. And it looks like we're going to need two of them. I should have got the 48-inch ones, I guess. It's okay. So what we're going to do to start with is we don't want to tighten this down yet. We want to get everything kind of finalized for location, but we do want to have it so that we can use the zip tie to take up just a little bit of the weight while we tighten the screws down and stuff and get it all oriented right. Get down into frame here with you guys a little bit. Now you'll probably have to fight it just a little bit here. We're going to get at least one of our screws started here. Screwdriver. You don't want to tighten that one down all the way. We're just using it to kind of take some of the weight in case we got to move our hand. We're going to get all 6 of our screws lined up, started in. This is where the stainless steel pump head would really be a great upgrade to this. I'm offering it in plastic for price reasons to start with, but like I said, I will be including that in the kit version as an upgrade. They do cost a little bit of money, but it's well worth it, I believe. Alright, once we've got all of our screws started, to help take some of the weight off of things, I'm going to lay this thing straight over. Give me a little more access with the screwdriver too. And we're just going to go around in a circular pattern. Tighten up those screws again. The mount point where they're going to on the pump is a die cast housing. You don't want to refund these either. You will strip the threads out fairly easily. They don't have to be King Kong tight, just good and snug. Okay, and we're going to tilt her back up, and we're going to snug up that zip tie while holding everything in place. To support the whole unit. On these zip ties, the easiest thing to do is to grab it with the pliers and give her a good pull. Do a final little bit of alignment on everything. Now most of the weight of the pump is being held by that zip tie, not by this. Everything's fairly solid. It will wiggle a little bit, but unless you're really being rough with it, it should be okay. Grab a pair of scissors here, or a knife. Guess we'll use a knife. We're gonna really wish I had a zip tie cutter. Just gonna trim off those long ends real quick with the wrong tool for the job. Get rid of our ends here. That's pretty much our entire manifold assembly now. We've got everything in place. There are 4 mount holes on the bottom of the filter element. If you wanted to, you could make yourself a mount to support that weight off of one of these handles over here. I have not done anything like that in the system myself. I don't have anything for that that's readily available to me. Don't really have a good answer for that one yet, folks. It is just a prototype. And there's your filter housing. I can start off with all of our valves closed, of course. All we got to do now is plug it in and we're ready to go. Now, you're going to notice some other things that came with the system that I haven't really discussed yet. One of those was our bag. The reason for the bag, that malt pipe that comes with the RoboBrew, man, is that thing expensive. It's also kind of a pain in the butt if you use a high wheat percentage or anything like that. Stuck sparges can be a real pain with it. So we've decided we're going to go with the brew in a bag system instead. So you can fit your brew in the bag in. And these are fairly simple to use. Put it over the top of the kettle. Let her drape down in. Tighten up the drawstring. Tie it off if you need to. Don't cinch it down too tight or you'll never get it back off. There you go. One electric brew in the bag system ready to go. Got your lid over here. The only thing we have left to do now is in the lid, you're going to notice there's a small hole for a vent. And we have a racking cane that we haven't messed with yet. Now it's going to be up to you as the customer to decide exactly how you want to do this. Myself, from my experience with the RoboBrew, I never had the lid on when I was recirculating. It let a little bit of the heat out, but it was just such a pain to deal with trying to guide that hose into that little tiny hole. So what I'm going to do is take my racking cane, give it an eyeball measurement. I'm going to use my pipe cutter here. And this is stainless steel, so it's going to be kind of hard on your cutter, and it's going to take a little bit. You could cut this with a hacksaw or any other means you want. You want to make sure, though, that when you're done, you have a nice, smooth, rounded edge at the end here, because we're going to be putting it into a compression fitting. We want a good, tight seal on that. On your compression fitting, you're going to have a little ferrule. You want to feed the nut through first. And then there's this little unit that points upward. And the angled side, it's thicker on one side, thinner on the other side. The thin side goes down. I'm going to let that all go down into position. Align it. Grab a wrench. We're going to give it a fairly snug turn here, because that's what seats the unit. We might need to hold that with pliers on the other side just because it wants to turn so bad. This, you want to turn fairly tight. You want a good crimp seal on that. To show you what we've got going on there now. Take that back loose for a second. You'll see now that the action of tightening that down has crimped the ferrule on and made a fairly watertight seal there. Right now that ferrule is going to turn just a little bit yet, but once it heats up a little bit, that'll tighten right down. When we're done tightening it, it shouldn't really turn. It should stay in one position. If you wanted to, again, wouldn't be that hard to construct a bracket of some sort to hold that over to the kettle. Whatever you want to do, if you want to make a custom bend in it. I'm leaving that all in the hands of our customers. Each unit will be individually made, so it'll be up to you how you exactly fit it in. This is just the way I'm doing it. We are now done assembling the unit. I'm going to shut the camera off, and today is Friday. Come Sunday of this week, I should be putting up a video of doing the first brew in it. We're going to do a simple smash ale using 2 tracks Okie Finoki Pale Malt, and I haven't decided on the hops yet, still working on that. Probably going to be cluster, maybe a bit of Citra. Haven't really decided yet. Anyway, we'll be back Sunday with the brew video, and then we'll come back a few weeks after that to show you how fermentation's gone in it, and how the filter element's going to work. Everything's going to tie together. You'll see how the whole system works. Thanks very much. Catch you next video.